This is part 5 of Exodus, and I'm going to start off. Let's see. I left off with Moses telling them it was manna and showed you that they didn't make the flakes or gathered it up to make a cake, that these cakes are made and our Creator is feeding them with manna by having it already made. They just needed to go collect it for that day. And what it is had to change it into first person. The text is able to be written at this time by these people. So the thing here is I have to make sure that the first person is there. Now, I also wanted to show, because that's the starting of the video and people have clicked on it, I need to show this right here, what we're looking for. This is the text I'm looking for in the format that you're seeing here, okay? And now what I've got listed here is the plague numbers to help in the next video that I show. When I take care of removing all the blue text, and I want to put up the reasons why I'm doing that. There are 6 of them of why this blue text is being removed. The green text is what I'm adding into the text. And you can see I added the word ist to hottest and AD to melted. And then even though I needed to add a small word here for it to read correctly, it's these yellow highlighted words that are having to complete these 2 major words, as you see, 2 major words for this format to exist. Now you can do Psalms 1 through 5 or 1 through 9 to find these. They're very simple to do. They're very short. I advise everyone to do that right now. Just put them on word processor to get rid of all the punctuation and find the shortest verses and the smallest grouping that happens to them. But when I'm changing a word, I usually put a slash and then I'm putting the word that I believe best fits. When it's close enough to this word before it, then I'm trying to say, okay, it doesn't really need to be explained. So you have to watch the bit, start at the beginning of any of the books, and you'll see that, how I explain what's going on. I need to, these videos are taking a long time to do to begin with. So I'm trying to make it short, that once you understand what's going on, the more you'll trust me of why I'm getting rid of a lot of words. But example, when you do the Psalms, you will find out that you will have to remove words, because when you see how long the verses get, you can say, well, if I can get rid of this word, this word, this word, put it together, and it matches what I need to meet the format and in this small words I need to make a sentence or a verse. Now I'm changing the number here from 6 to 7 because when people are going to do searches in the future, I need to have the 7th as an important search when it shows up. I want them to be able to get every verse that's there. And when you do like a 6th verse or a 6th day, it is so rare that I'm afraid people are going to miss out. So sometimes I'm changing just the number, and it reads okay being for the 7th. See, I'm using the word for the 7th to say, and it came about on the 6th day. So, oh, I don't have that other computer turned on yet. So, but the object is you can see what I'm doing here. And for those of you who don't know what I've got, to be able to prove what I'm doing as far as blending words or making words work together. Let me see if I have that. Just um, no, I guess I don't have that made yet. So let me go over here, see if I got, should have been in this list. Oh, I'm still in, I'm sorry. Those are the maps for that. I need to switch folders here and show you pretty much what's going on, the text that you don't understand what's going on when I'm saying these things. No, That's not the one that I usually use. Because it's so important for people to say, well, how come you're switching words around? Well, I'm going to give you a perfect example. There it is. No? Okay, well, let me use, no, don't want to use that one. Let me use this one real quick. When I click on the word over here in the software program that I have, it pulls up the Hebrew word over here, Strong's Concordance. New American Standard has changed the lettering of many words to own this copyright to be able to do this. But this word over here in these parentheses is telling you how many different words they used for that one word. And as you can see, as you go through here, I want you to take a screenshot of this, and then look at it separately. And what'll happen is you'll see words that are, that have to have a different word that means exactly that. So when you see how many times that this is done for every word, not as bad as this is a very good example of what I'm trying to show you, is that they didn't stick to the words that you're thinking every word in the Bible is true in the order that it's being said. And a lot of times I'll click on the word like sixth and I will see that it does use the word sixth. But because I know I've got, let's see, because I know, I think this, okay, example. Here's the word boy, okay? Here's the word boy. But they used it for a girl once, okay? And servants, you could say that there's women servants as well. If you go to the word desert, they used a man's name 4 times. A dove, and they found out that they could use a man's name here. So, in nations, here is another name. Okay. Now, this one might be somewhat reasonable, but when I start showing you that they aren't honestly used, they actually changed the word from dove. So, if I went to this, wherever this is at in the text, and I click on it, it's going to pull up all these, and they used it only once this way. Why only once? Why can't the word be dove here? So, anyways, I try not to do too much explaining in the beginning, but it needs to be said, and I do a better explanation at the very beginning of these books. And here is, I needed to add the word color to get that 3 verse that you see that's real nice later. And in this text, when I'm trying to find out which word to say, like a coriander seed, but the word is white is in here, and white is pretty much blatant. Now let me take you to the text here, because I got to get to 31. So let me show you. This is 16. Oh, I'm way down here. 1631. Whoops. I guess I went really too far here. Well, I went too far. If I go to 30, then it's up at the top here. Okay, now let's take a look at the word white. See, the word white appears 24 times and here. So I know that this word actually exists in the text. I don't know if they put it in, but when you look at this and you're reasoning out which word is most important to use, the word coriander, when it pulls up, is used twice. Now that's almost like they had to add it, but I'm not really sure. So what I have to do is do my best estimate or guess, and I try to reason out logically by using every word. Under our creator's format, I know it's going to be a coriander seed because I actually have a picture of that color for people to look at. Here, the difference is when I'm looking for the format, and yes, I could switch words around and whatever, but if I did, and that's why I didn't do that here. Man, because I needed to add the word color in the house, or they named it manna, yet the text above it, see, it wasn't the house of Israel, okay, or what it would be is would be the nation of Israel. Moses told them what it was in the verses above here. So actually it has to be the text that they originally started with has to be somewhere in this area. Now, when I'm looking at it, the manna was like coriander, a seed's white. So when I'm seeing it like that, I know that I have to get rid of the word coriander. It just in this format, okay? Um, I hope you understand what I'm trying to say is that I'm going to have the manna be white because it was strange to them. If they seen it was like coriander, it's a light beige, okay? Now, a light beige, they would recognize that as bread. So when I'm looking here, do I need to correct our creators format? And I will be looking at that. I've got notes to say what I'm seeing difference here when I'm pulling it out will help me uh, edit our creators formats a little bit better. And by the way, I'm going to start making videos on that, and these will be a little bit longer in between because I can make maybe 7 or 8 videos before I'm able to go through and completely double check, triple check what I'm doing here because I'm trying not to use our creators format because in here there's more detail of a few things that I feel is very important to stay true to the story. In the text at the best that I'm doing here is never to replace what our creators format does, but it's a guide to help understand or give an understanding of more of the people living at what time they're living. Um, so, because it tasted like wafers of honey. Here they're saying it's wafers, and it's not saying it's being made. So again, here could I used wafer instead of a cake? Let me see what they do with the word wafer here. Tastes like wafers. Here, see, a flat cake, a wafer. They use right now. This is the only time that they use the word wafers. Okay, so even that you could see that it would be changing the word. Okay, so or adding a word that they like up here says the manna already, and they would have that understanding, and it doesn't need to be said as a wafer again. When it said manna, why add to what's its shape like? But the thing here is that's given them away that the cake is already shaped for them. Um, and then when it came, and then they ate manna until it stopped traveling. Now, or when they went to travel. Now here, the text here is going to start talking about they quarreled again about uh, water, no water. This is a note for next time, so don't get confused. Like I said, a lot of the text is out of order, and these verses are going to move because this water has to happen as soon as they get into um, the Sinai and get there. Because I know in the last video, now let me go back to the map here. Okay, here. This is the color of coriander, okay? And what I did, I can't really, well, I'm going to do this real quick for copyright reasons. Okay, now you've seen that in a blink. Now that was an image that I used to get this color from, okay? And I canceled out a lot of the black shading to get this mixture of color, but that's what coriander looks like. But here, what happens is the timing of the days going in and things like that to describe what's going to start happening here. If we know that this is a 3 to 4 day travel by 600,000 or 400,000 people with carts, with ox, with their children, you can't travel fast with children. Okay. Um, the thing here is you can see the mileage down here. And it's 60 miles to this border from here to here, and that's the way the bird flies. So can it be, can that travel that far, 20 miles a day, to say that it was a 3 days travel that they went that is in the text? I kept the 3 days, I believe, in the text. And now when they passed here and I explained how quickly that could have happened because our creator can do whatever he wants with time. But here, like I said before, is a reasonable place for them to exist because it's out of the way of the normal travel, the paths that people would have taken. Uh, Over here is all desert, okay? But the people coming up from the desert, they would be traveling along where water exists. They needed this path that you see here. The brown line is the path that I believe is just as old as the beginning here of the path through Israel, which is called a highway. I put this in here because I figured at the time of Jacob, this is about Jacob when he, yes, when he was sold. But the thing here is not Jacob, Joseph, when he was sold to merchants. But the idea is to try to find where they could get the source of water, and they'd have to be close to these water to refill every so many miles. I mean, look at this. This has got to be 30 miles, 40 miles in between, but you could get past one of them to get to another because this is the last stop before all this long way here, which is about 100, 200 miles. So this location that I found here is away from where the normal amount of people traveling. So I'm saying that's the most reasonable. And there's this pathway. It's easy enough to get into this area for them to exist for a year or maybe a year and a few months, maybe 2 years. We're going to find out. But the object is this area would have stayed out of the way of the normal travel. And people would, when they went by, they would know that there's that many people living there because if you camp at night, you would have seen the camp lights from their place. You're talking 400,000 people. I live close enough to a stadium. When they turn the stadium lights on, I can see it 10 miles away. Okay. So when they're only a few miles away, they would see the camp lights. From 400,000 people. So, but the object is this is where he's going to strike the hill, not this hill, this name that they've given or made up, but that hill somewhere in there. And that's why I designated this area right here, okay, um, where it's at, because he has to be close to a hill to strike the rocks. Like I said, the manna is in a fog, so they'd have to see the fog coming in. If you're on a hill, it's pretty much fog doesn't cover a hill that high, I would believe, because I think it was just a thinner layer of fog for them. I'm not thinking it's a normal fog. It's specially made by our creator. He's just hiding the area that he's going to make them appear. So here they're striking the rock, and I needed this verse here to add for just to complete the verse. And I do this because if I have just two verses and I don't have any text below or above it to complete it, I do make that verse up. And you'll see that I'm not really adding my words to the text per se, as making up something completely that doesn't say what what happens here. And because it said, once you strike the rock, water will come out of it, and my people, for my people and livestock. So when Moses did in the sight of elders, what happened next? Well, the water came out, okay? And it's not like it came out like a gentle stream, okay? You got a lot of cattle, a lot of people, so this is going to be a major stream, okay? Now, again, a note for myself later that this text is out because now we're going to battle Amaleks. Now, all of a sudden, from here, we went from striking the rocks. Now we're up here. So, like I said, the text is not in order. and fought to battle. I'm is reasonably close, but I'm still noting it that I'm adding because fought, you have to understand how big it is. So I have to use the word battle. Now it says here, now here is, oh, he's up on the mountain or on that hill top with a stick. And when I raise it, we will battle them. Now, if those that know the story, every time he didn't hold up his arms long enough with his walking stick, got tired, come down, it says they lost the battle or whatever. That's getting eliminated. Even that happened in our Creator's text, I believe. But the thing here is if I'm not correct about that, don't say I lied here. I just lack of memory from what I done of everything in that text. But here they fought him in battle, and they went up to the top, and Israel, he raised a stick, and they began to battle. And then I'm not having them with swords. These were slaves. They didn't have swords, but they would have had knives to butcher their animals, to make their meals and stuff like that. So they had knives. At that time, I don't think they had fine cutlery that we have today. So I'm thinking their knives are able for them to battle, and I'm thinking they're probably 10 inches long at least. Okay. But here they had shields. It doesn't even have the text of our Creator telling Moses how to form the army yet. That's going to happen later. So they're already fighting without telling you how old they are. Their shields have to be made out of bronze, okay? To have enough bronze to, that's why in the last video I said I added, 2 videos ago, that I added bronze. In the last video, I was suggesting that wait until you see some of the other text about how much it was they used for the house. Now here, they have to have shields when they're fighting. You don't go to war and just fight with open knives. That's just too much of a loss of battle. Those guys got swords, they know it. Okay. So I'm adding the word shields just because I know they got bronze and they could. Bronze at that time can be refashioned over and over. It gets a lesser strength, but it gave them a shield to go in and fight. For example, everybody come out there with a sword or a knife longer than them. You can't charge or you can't fight the other person. You need something that will shield yourself and then get close enough with the knives. So they had to have shields at that time, and I believe they were made out of bronze. So I am adding and I am influencing the text at this time on this word. And when I do this, I am making sure that I tell you that yes, this is my words in this text. There is no other text here that says that they had shields at any time. But I hope you think about reasoning out that you're going to fight, say, 50,000 men against 50,000. You don't have a chance if you don't have a shield. And you don't have that chance. Yes, I know our Creator can do whatever He wants, but the people's confidence has to be that they know that they can at least get close with their knives. Now, all of a sudden, we have this guy named Jethro from Raul. In the videos before, I explained why I stayed with Raul, and that's because that was the first time his name was introduced. I think it was less than 10 verses later, they started using Jethro. I stayed with Raul, okay? And sorry for everybody that's named in the Bible after Jethro. But the object is Raul is his father-in-law. Now here he's coming up and he's going to be talking to Moses. Now, again, I need this map. And like I told you before in a video before, that over here, this mount right here, okay, is very huge. I think it even might have some of this area here because I I think when I've labeled the mounts, I think I made it so I had to break one of these lines here. When you search for the mounts of Jordan, this is actually Jordan today. So you can see that they are like here and Israel is down here. These mounts are like huge, okay? They're when I point out the difference, when you go see that image, you got to say, okay, there's no mountains in Israel because that mount is higher than anything that's in Israel by a whole lot. Yes, 2,000 feet up off of the sea level. Yes, some countries would call those mountains. But in the text, this is known as the hill country because Moses looked down upon the hill country. Now, this is where I'm saying that he's met with his father-in-law right in here because from going to almost battling so quick and then they left because it doesn't tell them why they left, but they're now way up here in this text. And then his father-in-law come down because when he heard they were coming, because I'm sure travelers along this road that have to go through Edom and go this route if they're going to go up, it's so hard to explain when you look at the geographic or geology or geographical layout of the land. There is such a small, thin passage on this side of um, the Jordan River, and above it, if you see that they're starting to become mountain ridge, that there's only like this 5 mile area that you can walk through where the Assyrians come down to battle. They had to come down through there to get so they could go in and go into Damascus and take it. But on this side, it's an easier travel to go to Damascus and then go into the lands along the Euphrates River that's lower because everything else is such a Sierra desert. There wasn't much, even this area here is very close to a desert, very, very close. Um, so the thing here is what I'm saying is this is the area where his father-in-law shows up. Okay. Oh, and it talks about the plagues. So I needed to add not heard of all that our Creator had done, but the plagues. He would have been interested in the long year and a few months that it took for these plagues to exist. Remember, Raul knows that he's being sent, and he knows he's going to come back because his father-in-law knows about the promise from our Creator that when Israel comes back, they're going to take over the land of Canaan. So here, Raul comes down and he's going to talk to him what's happened. All right. Encamped by their mount. See, now it's called the mount of God, but it is correctly said mount. And when you look at the text when he first meets Raul, there's a mountain that he's next to. And that's why I said it can't be in Medina or whatever it is, or Median, Median. Anyways, in Saudi Arabia, can't be. There's nobody in Saudi Arabia that speaks Hebrew. He had to go where Hebrews still existed, and they still existed, and they went to Edom's or Esau's family lineage. So he had come to that mount there. Now, again, he already talked to his father, and then this verse is now he's coming. So that's how goofy this text really starts showing up. And anybody that's ever tried to make sense of what's going on in this text knows this is so stupidly written. And we know that people know how to write a story in order. And he told them everything the Egyptians. So you know that some of the verses are going to come down. They're going to be meshed together to get this text corrected later. But then he was the next daylight. We don't use the word day for meaning just daylight. We call it how our Creator would call it, and that's daylight and night to make a day. And later, I'm going to add the word later, that after he's seen what was going on of him judging the people or judging the disputes of the people, I needed the word later here. In these here words, like I said, since this is a new video, I need to explain this highlighted word. These are the words that they needed to add in 1977. I'm using 1977 text and the coordinates from 1977. So this is added words by them to try to complete the sentences today. So the thing here is I still needed to use those words, so they're going to be this color until the next in this way here, so you know what's there. And Moses told. Let me look at this. This is interesting because this might be what I'm used in the other video to say that it was Edom's land that they went to, because I clicked on a word for a definition of Raul, who Raul is, and they said he was an Edomite. Okay, so that's one, and I think in here this word Esau. So this is 1815. 1815 was small to me. I'm sitting at least 30 inches away from this. That isn't 30, it's 20. Yeah, oh, I'm at 15. Oh, 14. Why do I have Esau's here? It's in 15. Am I at 18, 15? Yes. Well, that looks like it's an error that I've added to the text. This looks like I was working on the text and I put it in there. So that word never existed. Yeah, it's not adding here. Okay. Sorry about that. I don't know. I was editing, then I realized threw it out. So, yep. Well, one of them errors that I put in, and I got to get rid of it. So I got rid of the word Esau here, and you have to go back to the word Raul, and you'll find. Maybe I can click on that right here. Maybe I can click on what's known as Jethro here. Where is the word Jethro here on the screen? On 5, verse 5. Okay, so I gotta say he's from Esau's, but I know it happened with the word Rual, Real, whatever. I'm confused here, and I'm not really good at words. I've told you that before. I have to look at the word, concentrate, and I'm just slaughtering his name right now. But anyways, in next daily he's did this. So where was I? I was down here farther. Yeah, I was right here because blinking right there. Okay. So it is pretty much Raul who talks Moses into starting now what some countries have as a like the highest court in the land, and then these other sub courts. So here it is in the text, and this is where we find that being said. and how they are to act. I added this group here because what I'm looking at, and there is no text that says this and how they are to act, but when you're explaining our Creator's laws, one like Moses would know, and people at that time would know that you are not supposed to act this way. You're supposed to be brother, and concerned about your other brother, and you're supposed to give in and not worry it. Don't carry it as a grudge. Forget it because our Creator is forgiving you. So it's how they are to act is why I put these words in here. And it's not the thing that he was judging. So we understand that. So when I'm using the word what, by judging, you are doing what is not good for you. I could have used the word judging here, but I'm simply going to use the word what because we know the conversation. The counsel is learned that Moses had to talk to him about certain thing, and our Creator would tell him certain things, and we're going to find a lot of these things here later. But they brought their disputes to him, and then he's telling them that after you teach, who are you going to teach? Down here, I got Levi's. So I'm adding the word Levi's here because when he set up the tent, that didn't happen yet. He's going to appoint the Levi's, and that's missing from this story. But when the story later gets put in order, everybody will know that it's supposed to be Levi's. So, but it's in the tribe of Levi. It's his priests. Okay, so anybody who's studied the text would know that easily and wouldn't say, "Well, you're overblowing it up right now." Well, I just want to make sure that you know why I'm doing things at this time and in the verses here that I'm showing. Go through here. Okay, third month. Now in verse 19 over here, I don't think I need to pull it up. I want to check right now to make sure that that word does exist. Yep. Okay, I'll show you that then. All right. Third, 30. 3. Okay. So now you know that the third month after Israel left Egypt, they're in the Sinai. I had to set through the land of the rivers. Okay, now we're going back to go fight Amaleks. Okay, because we left from the Sinai and set out. What is that? What is Nineveh? Nedva is, other people would say, well, it's Nevet that they're going to. And where is the line for Nedva? I used to have that laid out on the map, but I don't think that really existed because it was Amalek's territory, and Amalek's when they got here, which are truly Amalek's, are descendants from Noah's third son. So are the Palestinians. Everybody in Israel is actually always related back to Noah. Okay. Set out through the rivers. And that's because you've seen this map a few times, and I keep talking about through these rivers, through the rivers. They had to come up here to get up here. So the story is back to this area here that they traveled through the rivers, okay, and camped by, see, they got the word mountain here. And let me move it a little bit farther. And I changed it to the word hill because they didn't name the mountain again. They just said this mountain, and it's not really a mountain at this time. You've seen what mountains look like in the Sinai, okay? They would have seen those over there mountains, and they would say, this is a nice hill. It's pretty tall, but it's not none like that. So, because the mountains need a mountain range, okay? And you know there's the colliding of the two platonic plates that form mountains. We know this today. Here they're saying, what's the name of that river? but I'm saying rivers because you've seen the map and that word river fits better than saying what name it is. Uh, Here's where I didn't want to put in what I can't really make up, or to put an influence other than my own influence. So sometimes the text will have this as meaning the third verse. I showed you that where text showed that they knew the daughter of the king of Egypt, who she was when um, she picked up Moses, and the text will have that blank where her name should be. I don't want to put in things that I just can't prove or reason out correctly. They're too far away to me to even guess here. Okay, I better stop here before I panic. It's over 40 minutes. So, yeah, because this text is reading. You'll be surprised where this text ends up. But this is the end here.